I've pulled together a quick video to summarize the many recent changes to our lives. We left the rental house in Ontario, California, and returned to our home in Peru, Illinois. Prior to departure, we were supposed to replace the transfer case in our Hummer H3, but UPS lost the part twice. So we had to leave California with one very wounded truck, and Sparky, Kathy's JLUR 4xe, had to pull our M416 trailer with our usual overlanding setup. We took a detour through North Logan, Utah to pick up Argo, our new Antishanty RR-1 Plus. Upon our return to Peru, I took Argo to our forest property in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, the UP, where she'll serve as our cedar swamp-resistant cabin. And I worked remotely out of Argo for a week. Finally, returning to our home from that remote work week in the Upper Peninsula to Peru, Illinois, I got an update on Tiny, our 1-ton 4x4 Cummins Dually. While we were returning from Death Valley, despite being preoccupied with a hole in my radiator, I noticed an odd drivetrain noise. As the noise got worse, I realized that the chain in the transfer case was hopping the sprocket under heavy torque. Fortunately, Powertrain Products honored their warranty, and with the help of our friend Brian, we replaced the transfer case. We discussed the fact that over its year in California, the Hummer got new rear springs, new brakes, a new radiator, and a new transfer case, all as it gradually rolled through 200,000 miles on its clock. We seriously considered replacing the Hummer. We looked at Wranglers and Broncos. However, after Brian replaced the transfer case and after I caught up on routine maintenance, I fell back in love with my truck and thereby saved over $60,000. Brian's repair didn't only save us $60,000, it also finally gave us a name for my truck other than the Hummer. If you know the philosophical question of the ship of Theseus, in which the Greeks questioned whether it's still that ship after they had replaced most every one of its pieces over the centuries, then you'll understand why our third son Jacob renamed the Hummer the Ship of Theseus, or for short, just Theseus. All right, it's sort of kind of moving day. Everything's a little different. So weird mix-ups. We could not get the transfer case to repair the Hummer shipped here in time. The first one got lost, the second one got lost. So we stayed an extra day because at the last minute, Antishanty came through and said, yes, actually, we'll have your trailer done before the 4th of July. So then everything came into focus. We'll leave tomorrow, Wednesday, the 2nd of July. We'll get there Wednesday night. We'll pick it up Thursday, the 3rd of July. Hook it up to the Hummer, so all that will come off when we get there. Switch everything over to the Antishanty. You can just stick that stuff inside the trailer. And that'll be that. So that's the Hummer. Hopefully going to be able to pull the 1,800-pound Antishanty trailer across from north of Salt Lake City, North Logan, Utah, to Peru, Illinois. I think it's 1,500 miles, something like that. But it is mostly flat once we get out of the Salt Lake City area. Maybe a little bit in Wyoming, but after that it's flat until we get to that hilly part of Iowa. Sparky's doing the heavy lifting, so I put all the heavy stuff in Sparky. The Hummer's just got bags of clothes and stuff like that. And Sparky's going to pull the M416 trailer. So Kathy will drive Sparky, and we'll do the little FRS radios back and forth. And we'll see what there is to see. Should be good. I left it unplugged just because I've got a DC to DC charger, and I don't know what it'll do to the car while it's parked. Sometimes that 12-volt hot, I think, stays powered. So it'll be interesting, and this might be the last time this trailer is set up in this configuration. Once we have the Antishanty RR-1, which we have named Argo, we'll see how often I use this trailer and the rooftop tent. One of the main advantages of the RR-1 is no canvas to flap in the wind, but it's also primarily going to be our cabin up by the lakeshore in Michigan. So there might be times when I pull all of this out of the garage to go camping locally when the Antishanty will be parked up in Michigan. We'll see. Good to have options. So again, we'll pick that up on the way home. God willing, and the creek don't rise, the Hummer will pull it home before its transfer case blows the rest of the way. And hopefully the replacement transfer case will be able to meet me in Illinois, and I can finally make that repair. In Illinois, I may do it myself. We'll see how much time I have. All right, so that's it. It's Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday afternoon, about 3 p.m. here in Ontario, California. In a previous video, I explained how Kathy and I concluded that we should purchase an Antishanty RR-1, that's Rigid Roof 1 Plus, adventure trailer that we have named Argo. Okay, so Nate popped out, and we're going to drive down to the bay doors. We're here at Icon Outdoors, also known as Antishanty.
Right, Jason and the Argonauts.
And then realized that the ship was actually named Argo.
Yeah.
And Argonauts.
And it sounds like the word cargo.
Souped up cargo trailer.
Yeah.
Kathy was pointing out, we never named the Hummer. And I said, well, you can't. The Hummer. So her little 4xe is Sparky.
I got Sparky.
The ones on Cummins is Tiny.
The Suburban is either the Sublubin or
the Cardis.
The Cardis.
Big blue box that you travel in. The kids came up with that one. I'll throw that basket down on the floor.
Super cool to see it in person,
Yeah. With the missile as I'm hitting my brakes.
Just slides all the way up. Yeah, we can just
Throw those up here.
What's he doing?
Changing the battery.
Okay. Alrighty. I better help him.
Be careful.
Huh, I hear that.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good.
Yep, actually.
Okie dokie. Very good. Super cool.
So Mason's going to give us the walkthrough. Why don't you
Alrighty.
record and I'll ask questions.
Okie doke.
Perfect. Well, we can start on the outside. We'll kind of circle around, and then we can go on the inside. So, outside here with the entry step. The entry step is kind of something that takes a little bit to get used to. It's kind of a weird pulling. So it kind of goes down and out at the same time. So usually I try to think of like pulling straight down towards my toes. And kind of wiggle and pull down and out. And then,
Try that?
yep, for sure.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's perfect.
So just kind of a little bit of a weird motion, but
I could feel it at first. It wasn't going to go, and then like you say, when you do it, just don't force it and just. Perfect.
exactly. And so when you're driving, you'll want to have it up out of the way, and it should stay up, no problem. You don't need to put like a strap or anything. And then, yeah, when you're in camp, obviously, you can put it down. Moving along from the outside, so in the back on both sides, there's the plated jacks, and then in the front, there's the wheel jacks. So with all of the jacks, they're super easy to use. We'll crank them up. They have a little pull knob here. Twist it up. In the frame down here, you have storage for ramps. So these slots go all the way through, so you can throw ramps in. And usually we just put like a bungee or a little lace strap around this last one to hold the ramp in. Other stuff here on the back, we have a little pull handle.
For me.
And then these locks. So lots of times when you close them the first time, the handle will kind of fold out like that. You just kind of need to give them a little bit of a push, and then they'll close in. Let me grab the key. There's spare keys for all of the keys in there as well. So with these locks, they have 2 locks per each one. So this first one right here locks the vehicle itself, and then this one is the deadbolt. So you can see this one here does this deadbolt here at the bottom, and then this one here does the handle. So if you lock this, then it does the handle itself. So usually when we're driving, I personally like to do the deadbolt just in case we add new things and change them up. So jerry can mounts, same thing on the other side. I think these look sweet. I think they'll be really nice right there. This side's pretty much the exact same with the jack, the spare tires. Other things here, these push locks on the front are going to be these keys right here. And so when you close them down, then the key will just go in. Other stuff here on this side, up in the front, this is where you have your diesel tank for the Wallace stovetop and heater. So in the bag, there's an extra diesel cap as well. So then if you're wanting to fill it up, you can undo right here.
After picking up Argo in North Logan, Utah, and despite pulling Argo with Theseus while it still had a broken transfer case, Argo quickly proved her worth. That first night, eager to be home, we slept at a rest area. Being able to jump right into Argo was very convenient. We drove straight home the next day across Nebraska and Iowa and finally arrived back at our house. We decided that, rather than park or store Argo locally, I would place Argo directly into service as our cabin. GoPro still has some life left in it. Very good. I left Argo unlocked. One last look here. So this is how you can use these. I don't know if the lighting will pick it up. That's a bunch of old lumber, scrap lumber from the house. So I loaded it in, and that's all the gear that we normally carried in the M416. Not 100% of it, but about 90% of it. So I haven't had a chance to pick through and decide what stays with Argo and what stays in our garage for small camping trips. So it's a good thing I looked up here. I did not relatch this. One thing I learned about about Argo here is that's a sheet of aluminum with nothing on the other side. So on a hot sunny day, watch where you put your hands and be aware of that when you store things in here. That they're going to be up against a very hot surface. Alrighty. So hopefully a reasonably well engineered load. Things won't slide around or damage anything. So I got a bunch of scrap wood in there and the bed. See, I guess it was on here with my knees, and I put dirty shoes on there. That wasn't me walking on it. That was just me setting dirty shoes on it. Well, Argo is good to go here, hopefully. Hummer is still limping along with a broken transfer case, or if it gets really heavy torque, the chain skips. It's more like an impact problem, like gradual application of stress feathering the throttle. It doesn't seem to do it. Well, pretty excited. I'm leaving quite late. It's going to be like 5:15, 5:30 when I leave. But, you know, I don't have to go all the way, right? I can just pull over somewhere, sleep in the car, or jump in the bed in Argo and then start again in the morning. Another good reason to get Argo out of the driveway. Poor Kathy snagged that handle by day 2 of owning the trailer, day 3 of owning the trailer, and Sparky's front wheel hooked it as she got out of the driveway here and bent it. Fortunately, it didn't do any damage to the jack. All right. So, the Hummer is going to take Argo to our land in the UP. See, I've got the solar panel back up there. And we're going to leave Argo up there. This is going to be our cabin by the lake. And it will continue to move closer and closer to the shore as I finish trails. And that way it's going to make it so much easier to go up and to and from the UP. Because now, when I go up there, once Argo's already there, I can just pull the M416 trailer and bring scrap wood, firewood back this way. You know what? I can basically haul things back and forth, and I can haul things around there without having to use the 3-point hitch rack on Tractor Smurf. So lots of options. I think I remembered everything I need. I didn't bring all the recovery gear, but I did bring the winch. I don't intend to do any off-roading up there, but I have never been to the UP where I did not break out every piece of recovery gear that I needed, or that I owned basically, or had in the car. So here's hoping for an uneventful and safe trip. All right, well, I got in super late, I think 2 a.m. local time. It's because I changed time zones here to Eastern time, but still it was after 1 a.m. my time. And as before, I just kind of parked, unplugged, jumped inside the trailer. I don't know if I'm weird to unplug this, but it does draw juice the whole time, so I figured better safe than sorry. I haven't seen Tractor Smurf in ages, and all the tarps had kind of torn and blown off of him. Interesting. So it's a medical evacuation or Coast Guard or something. Alrighty. So I closed back up the windows. I ran the wall-less heater, which, as I say, even at its lowest heating, is really warm. So when I don't have clutter all over, I can just kind of jump out and turn it off at some point. But the trailer was pretty cluttered, so I just opened a couple windows and let it run. But I put on my mud boots here. Sure, there are a gazillion questing ticks who have jumped on me. But the ground is wet but firm. So I'm going to pull down the hill here, park by the wood pile, throw out that scrap wood that I'm going to use for the corduroy. I'm going to drive a big loop back there, and I'm parked Antishanty Argo here, where I normally park at the far end of the meadow. Well, hopefully this will get a little bit of me driving Argo to Argo's first home here in the UP. It's a little bit backlit. If that's any better. I should catch the big off-camber swing there. Okay, we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's going to be just about perfect. I'm going to swing around and kind of drive back through that little thicket after I unhook. Alright, so kind of closing out day one in camp here. First time camping with Argo. Gonna go charge these GoPro batteries. Say a few kind of high-level things. Definitely the concept of this trailer as an adventure slash base camp trailer, definitely proven out. It's extremely encouraging. You know, again, it looks kind of easy to drive in here, but it really was quite challenging. And if this thing didn't have the ground clearance and the independent articulation that it has, something its size would have been very difficult to get in here. And after that, you know, a lot of little things. So I'm learning to live with 200 watt solar on the roof and what I can and cannot get away with. So I ran the wall-less last night because it was pretty chilly. It was like 49 last night on, was it 5th or 6th of July? Pretty impressive. And 49 Fahrenheit, that is, of course. And the battery got from like 40% up. Now on peak day, I was running a laptop, which pulls a good 30 to 50 amps depending what's going on. So I didn't expect that. So I'm definitely learning how to manage the life of this particular EcoFlow solar generator. But Now that I'm mostly done with my work, I'm going to walk the old trail that I had sort of hewn with the chainsaw down that way. See how overgrown it's become. And I should also explain it's a really bad year for ticks. I've had 4 so far today that I found on me. So I wear these boots, not that they're a great protection, but in the wet grass, it definitely helps. And places like this, and you can't see any on here now, but this is where questing ticks jump onto. Oh, there you go. There's one right there. So I don't remember how many years I was camping before I understood that. So when you walk in tall grass like this, just understand, do a quick tick check as soon as you're back, because that's what they do. They sit on the ends of these long types of grass and other weeds, and they hang on there, and when something rubs up against it, they jump onto it. So I'm glad just by chance here I was able to actually to show you a questing tick. Let's try to kind of flatten those kind of reeds around camp. Not that it makes me immune to ticks, but it makes it a little harder for them to jump on me. And for now, I'm just gonna, even though I'm trying to save the solar generator, I'm gonna go ahead and charge up the GoPro batteries here. Yeah, you can see there, so I've got that charging, the fridge is running, that's about 66, 69 amps, and with the sun oblique, still a bright sun, but there's some tree shade in this spot, etc. It's only drawing about 11 watts of charge. I don't know if I said amps or watts, but 11 watts of charge versus right now 50 to 70 watts of draw. So it is what it is. I can always just back the truck over here and charge it off the battery if I really get frustrated, but that's just me getting used to this whole setup and what kind of battery life can I expect. The cheap Walmart pop-up awning. I think Ronnie Dahl did a good video about, you know, hey, if you don't want to spend the big money, you know, do you really need a 270 awning? And boy, I struggled with so many systems, like on my M416 trailer, to try to provide myself tables and awnings that attach to the trailer. And I finally thought, why? You know, why not just walk 3-4 feet away, depending on your campsite? This would give you all kinds of flexibility. So I've become a real believer in just doing the far less expensive route of carrying a portable awning that you can pop up wherever you want. All right, so one of the other goals was to make sure Tractor Smurf was running and operational. I don't know if I needed to, but just to avoid hassle, I ran the jumpers from the Hummer for a few minutes before I tried to turn it over, but that battery has always been solid, and it threw right over, fired right up with one little squirt. And I do this squirt of ether just as a precaution as well. So that's pretty impressive. A 1970 Ford 3000 sat here for a better part of 2 years, fired right up. With Theseus repaired and Argo on duty in Michigan as our cabin, we were down to our last initiated but not yet complete project, Tiny, our 1-ton 4x4 Cummins Dually. As it worked out, Tiny had so much corrosion that he went from frame-up restoration to Frankentruck, a mashup of salvage parts that will culminate in one whole corrosion-free truck. Unfortunately, that meant changing cabs and changing VINs and having to retitle Tiny under a completely different VIN. I'll post updates as Tiny nears completion, probably later this summer. He and our M105A2 trailer are a big part of our plans for our cedar swamp in the UP. I'll be traveling a lot over the next 2 months, so our overlanding adventures will be sparse until fall. However, I'm very much looking forward to picking up where we left off, preparing our land in the UP, and starting some adventures in Argo.